Thank you very much. Thank you, and thank you for giving.
This
Thank
is
you for giving me a chance to speak on.
Phalke, these are times with that Vision India Forum
Yeah,
really cherish.
बोलिए.
We've been running this series over the last 3 years now. Today, the issue
अच्छा.
that we are driving for home for policymakers to take a note of is Dadasaheb Phalke, the phenomena, the lifetime phenomena, India as a nation which has a history of thousands of rich culture heritage. It has seen over the last 120 years a phenomena called Dadasaheb Phalke, whose legacy has been carried on. And today we are a country which thrives politically, socially, on movies, on films, something which got incepted or probably which got envisioned by the phenomena called Dadasaheb Phalke, Hindubhai Phalke, somebody who, fought through the struggles of, health hazards, family crisis, who fought through the, hazards of one eye being lost. Somebody who fought through huge crisis financially, economically, to finally land up, making a movie called Raja Harishchandra, the first feature film India saw in 1913, much before people could, visualize or envision something like that. He is a man who, gave us the opportunity to watch something live on screen. जो 32 इंच का पर्दा है बोलते हैं हम, that is the man's contribution to India. And today I was talking to Mr. Prakash Javadekar just before the show started, half an hour back, the former INB minister from Maharashtra.
Yeah.
He was very, very, clear about the fact that though he would like to speak a lot about the subject, he is in Pune right now. But he said that, Amitji, please take on all the recommendations from the family members of Dadasaheb. We would like to take it forward with the government of India as well. And here we also have Mr. Paresh. Paresh is a renowned filmmaker. Paresh ji, namaskar. Thank you. Welcome to the show. You are credited with making the movie on Dadasaheb Phalke. And you somebody I don't know much about, but we would like to hear much about what work you've been doing around Dadasaheb Phalke. And why over the last 110 years, there has been so much segmentation in the film industry, from Maharashtra, Mumbai, to southern movies, and then now we've got the Bengalis ruled the Bollywood for a long time. The quartet of Tapan Sinha, the quartet of Ritvik Ghatak, Satyajit Ray, Minal Sen, they ruled it over a long time. Bimal Roy, musicians like, and then directors like Shakti Samant, Rishikesh Mukherjee. I mean, what about the great Marathi cinema? Dadasaheb Phalke comes from Maharashtra, and it has a huge legacy of producing fantastic directors, producers, actors, filmmakers overall. Dadasaheb probably was the person who set the ball rolling. So Chandrasekhar ji, rather than speaking a lot about Dadasaheb myself, who better than the grandson of Dadasaheb Phalke, हमारे अपने Dadasaheb Phalke, उनका लड़की के लड़के चंद्रशेखर पुसलकर हमारे साथ हैं. Chandra ji, take us through the journey of Dadasaheb Phalke, and also, what basically you would expect from India for Dadasaheb Phalke. हमारा उद्देश्य आज ये है, दादासाहेब फाल्के के लिए इस देश से आप क्या सोचते हैं, क्या मिलना चाहिए और क्या हम कर सकते हैं देशवासी के तौर पर.
नमस्कार, मैं चंद्रशेखर पुसालकर, मैं दादासाहेब फाल्के का नाती हूँ और आज मैं शुक्रगुजार हूँ गोयंका आप जी विजन इंडिया का कि मुझे इस बहस में शामिल किया है और ये बहुत अच्छा एक मोमेंट है. दादासाहेब फाल्के तो महान ही है, उन्हें महान करना तो हमारा काम नहीं, वो महान ही है. लेकिन क्या हो गया है कि दादासाहेब फाल्के का अवार्ड ज्यादा ग्लैमर हो गया है. His award is more glamorous than his information, what he has done. But that Paresh has already done in Marathi. So I want in Hindi also, there should be a grand movie on him, because all people know Even my plumber, electrician, all laymen know in a corner of India Dadasaheb Phalke due to his award, but they don't know much in detail. So that is my responsibility, and our all of us responsibility to carry that information. Why he was called as a pioneer? उनको pioneer क्यों बोलते थे? And we should focus on that matter because he was a patriot. वो एक freedom fighter थे. उन्होंने सारी टैलेंट हासिल की थी, फ्रॉम ड्राइंग, पेंटिंग, आर्किटेक्चर, सब कुछ उसने हासिल किया. ही वाज एक्सपर्ट, मास्टर, बट ही नेवर थॉट ऑफ मेकिंग फिल्म. उन्होंने कभी फिल्म बनाना कभी सोचा नहीं. लेकिन जब भी उन्होंने लाइफ ऑफ जीसस क्राइस्ट देखा, तो एज ए ग्रेट पैट्रियट, एंड ही वाज अ फॉलोअर ऑफ द लोकमान्य तिलक, ही थॉट हाउ लॉन्ग वी विल सी द कल्चर ऑफ फॉरेन कंट्रीज, how long we'll see their goddess. Why not Rama and Krishna? And then he started that I will make it. So that we should focus on his patriotism. Due to that, he has also left 3 years job before making first film. He was in a government service, British government, as a draftsman photographer. He left that job after 3 years to support the Wang Bandhu's movements. So that he was already carrying from Lokmanya Tilak. And after making Raja Harishchandra also, when he took 3 films to the London, he was offered by the leading producer there, Mr. Phalke, don't go back. We are impressed by whatever the films you have made. How come you have made with the semi-skilled people? Please stay. We are offering, and 300 pounds. Dadasaheb Phalke was great patriot. He humbly refused many stages. तो मेरे ख्याल से ये सब जो should be focused, because he was freedom fighter, he was for country, and nobody should forget his sacrifice for that. He started this film industry.
ये लोकमान्य तिलक जी के, he was with लोकमान्य तिलक साहब.
Yeah. लोकमान्य तिलक का Lokmanya Tilak used to come take much part in your movement. तो लोकमान्य तिलक का एक सेंटेंस बोलो, दादा साहब, you had given दूर दुनिया वालों, देखो सीन के बाद में how nicely it is used, because दादा साहब was ahead of the time. को जो फ्रीडम फाइट मूवमेंट है, जब ये मूवीज होगी 1945 में, ये सब दादा साहब जानते थे कि ये होने वाला है. तो मेरे ख्याल से this thing should be considered as a great country, besides being pioneer of the Indian film industry. Now today's turnover is around 1,47,000 crores of rupees. So, and we stand first in the world.
आपका ऑडियो में बहुत प्रॉब्लम है. बैंडविड्थ.
Yeah, I can hear.
Paresh, can you hear him clearly? Can you hear him clearly?
No, intermittently.
हाँ.
Now you can hear.
चंद्र जी, अगर आप एक काम करिए, आपने लोकमान्य तिलक के विषय में जो बताया, दादा साहब फाल्के ने उनके विषय में जो सेंटेंसेस बोले, आप अपना कैमरा एक बार ऑफ करके बोलिए, उसके बाद फिर ऑन करिए 2 मिनट बाद.
कैमरा ऑफ.
Because your bandwidth is pretty low.
अभी बोलो क्या? अभी बोलो. हम from what I should start?
लोकमान्य तिलक वाला जो एपिसोड है वहां से प्लीज बोलिए. अभी बहुत क्लियर आ रहा है, बहुत क्लियर है.
हाँ. अभी मैं चाहता हूँ कि एज ए ग्रेट फ्रीडम पैट्रियट, ग्रेट, he should be focused from that angle. दादासाहेब फाल्के, besides being pioneer, उन्होंने फिल्म क्यों बनाई? उन्होंने देखा कि अपना कल्चर भी देखना चाहिए, अपने गॉड गॉडेस भी लोगों को पता होना चाहिए, परदेश वालों को भी पता होना चाहिए. तो वो उद्देश्य से उन्होंने फिल्म इंडस्ट्री चालू की, स्वदेशी फिल्म्स. Not because he had a lot of talent. He used that talent for making films. That is different. और लोकमान्य तिलक का वो बहुत भक्त थे. He was like a guru, mentor. and he was impressed by his thought process. And लोकमान्य तिलक जब भी आते थे स्टूडियो में नासिक में, तभी उन्होंने लोकमान्य तिलक को शेयर किया कि सॉरी, मैं आपके फ्रीडम मूवमेंट में ज्यादा सहभाग नहीं ले सकता हूँ, क्योंकि मैं आई एम ऑक्युपाइड विद समथिंग एल्स। तो तिलक जी बोले, अरे दादा साहेब, आपने एक बड़ा सिनेमा बनाया है, बट दैट और क्या चाहिए हमें। तो ही नो द पावर ऑफ दैट सिनेमा, कि ये सिनेमा से आगे क्या होने वाला है। दादा साहेब वाज वेरी मच अवेयर ऑफ दैट मेरे ख्याल से। He was ahead of the time. Hello, now you can hear. Hello,
at least I can hear. I don't know about the others. Yeah,
you can hear.
Yes.
हाँ, so that main part लोकमान्य तिलक का एक उनके ऊपर असर था, और वो उन्होंने as a patriot of the freedom fighter of this country, he put in practice by making Swadeshi film of India. 25,000 में उन्होंने फिल्म बनाई. That is also mortgaging his insurance policy, selling his wife's ornament. हेलो
हाँ चंद्रा जी, बोलिए आप पीछे जाके बोलिए थोड़ा।
हाँ, अब भी सुन सकते हैं। हाँ, he made the first movie of India by now you can hear. Now you can hear.
आप बोलते रहिए।
25,000 में उन्होंने पहली फिल्म बनाई, वो भी अपनी इंश्योरेंस पॉलिसी मॉर्गेज की, अपने पत्नी के गहने बेचे, बहुत सारी दिक्कतें उठाई, और आज ये फिल्म इंडस्ट्री का टर्नओवर इंडिया का 1,47,000 करोड़, और वी स्टैंड फर्स्ट इन वर्ल्ड। मेरे ख्याल से पूरी फैमिली पायनियर, ये फर्स्ट टाइम है। Phalke family, पूरी family pioneer थी. That is first time in a world cinema history, because not only Dadasaheb made, he started, but his wife also supported in editing, developing. His sons also acted. So पूरा family as a pioneer, they played a vital part, and we stand first in the world today. So we all must be proud. We are proud, but we should not forget the sacrifice of the Dadasaheb Phalke and his family also. That's what I feel.
सर ये बताइए चंद्र जी कि अगर फ्रीडम मूवमेंट में आर्ट एंड कल्चर का, पोइट्री का इतना बड़ा योगदान था, रविंद्रनाथ टैगोर का नाम हम सुनते हैं, और वो राष्ट्रीय संगीत और पता नहीं बहुत कुछ उन्होंने लिख दिया, विथ ऑल ड्यू रिगार्ड्स एंड रिस्पेक्ट टू द ग्रेट मैन। नाउ दादा साहब फाल्के ने आर्ट में एक ऐसा काम किया जो शायद नहीं, वो पहले कभी इंडिया में हुआ नहीं, भारतवर्ष में कभी हुआ नहीं, अखंड भारत में कभी हुआ नहीं था। तो फिर उस तरह की मान्यता स्वाधीनता संग्राम में उस पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से, और हम लोग दादा साहब फाल्के का जो हम लोग देखते हैं उस तरह का स्थान हम लोग क्यों नहीं कहीं भी इतिहास के पन्नों में खोज पाते। जो आप अभी बता रहे हैं, मुझे भी नहीं पता था कि लोकमान्य तिलक के साथ में उनके इतने गहरे संबंध थे, और उनको रिकॉग्नाइज किया गया था कि उन्होंने एक आर्ट के माध्यम से ऐसा पैगाम पहुंचाने की क्षमता है जिससे भारत के स्वाधीनता संग्राम में बहुत पॉजिटिव एक असर पड़ सकता है। तो ये चीज गांधी जी ने या दूसरे लोगों ने क्यों नहीं अपने साथ जोड़ा? अगर जोड़ा तो कैसे जोड़ा, और उसका क्या परिणाम निकला आने वाले, क्योंकि 1944 तक हमारे साथ थे।
इसके बारे में मैं कहना चाहता हूँ, गांधी जी जब भी सिल्वर जुबली हुई सिनेमा की 1939 में, इंडियन सिनेमा सिल्वर जुबली हो गई, तभी गांधी जी के पास भी कोई लोग गए थे कि आपकी क्या राय है, आज एक सिनेमा की सिल्वर जुबली है। तो वो गांधी जी बोले, मैं तो सिनेमा देखता नहीं हूँ, मुझे वो मीडियम अच्छा नहीं लगता है, तो उसका सवाल ही नहीं मैं कुछ रिएक्शन दे दूं। तो फाल्के साहब को कोई बोला कि गांधी जी ऐसे कह रहे हैं, तो फाल्के साहब सिर्फ एक ही सेंटेंस बोले, आज गांधी बाबा ऐसे बोल रहे हैं, लेकिन रिमेंबर उनके ऊपर एक बड़ा पिक्चर आने वाला है। That we have seen afterwards. His words came true. He was ahead of the time, Dadasaheb Phalke. That's what I feel. और मैं तो ऐसे ही बात कर रहा हूँ साहब कि मैं तो I am very much thankful to Government of India for starting the Dadasaheb Phalke Lifetime Achievement Award in 1969. अगर ये अवार्ड नहीं होता था तो शायद मेरे ग्रैंडफादर रिसर्च बुक में जाते थे। 53 अवार्ड्स है, आप उनके नाम देखो, 53 लोगों के नाम इतने बड़े बड़े हैं, तो ये उसका ग्लैमर में बढ़ गए। लेकिन अभी ऐसे भी बात है, सिर्फ अवार्ड रख के भी काम नहीं होता है। आगे मेरे ख्याल से और भी कुछ गवर्नमेंट ने करना चाहिए, कुछ उनको भारत रत्न की एक रिकमेंडेशन में महाराष्ट्र गवर्नमेंट को बोलता हूँ, महाराष्ट्र भूषण, भारत रत्न, ये सब होना चाहिए। क्योंकि दादा साहब ने क्या किया है, मासेस को एंटरटेनमेंट दी, स्टार को स्टारडम दिया, बाद में गवर्नमेंट को ढेर अच्छा रेवेन्यू मिल रहा है, लोगों को रोजी रोटी दी। कोरोना टाइम में हमें पता चला कितने लोग डिपेंडेंट है एक दूसरे पे, ये फिल्म इंडस्ट्री में। तो मेरे ख्याल से दादा साहब देते ही आए हैं, अभी हमें वी हैव टू रिटर्निंग बैक। तो मैं गवर्नमेंट से आपके प्लेटफॉर्म थ्रू गवर्नमेंट को रिक्वेस्ट करता हूँ, महाराष्ट्र गवर्नमेंट को स्पेशली, प्लीज रिकमेंड हिज नेम फॉर द पोस्टमस भारत रत्न, बिकॉज वी हैव ऑलरेडी गिवन पोस्टमस भारत रत्न टू सम पीपल इन रिसेंट टाइम्स।
अच्छा चंद्र जी, अभी मैं आपसे, ये हमारा वार्तालाप अभी कुछ क्षण और जारी रहेगा। परेश जी को मैं थोड़ा सा बुलाना चाहूंगा। परेश जी, वेलकम टू द शो। अ वंडरफुल फिल्म मेकर, a young dynamic filmmaker. Paresh ji, I have been told by Chandra ji and your colleagues in the industry, most of whom are missing, though they promised they would be there, and we obviously don't pay money for, or don't have an agenda which is saleable enough, which is commercial enough for them to show up and show up with respect for the man because of whom their entire survival
Yeah, that's a
hinges
pity.
his, initiation on his lifetime sacrifices. And I'm sorry to say, the people of the industry have been shamelessly away from the show, despite being very clearly told, they are running after all kinds of nuisance. But at the same time, a man who started the industry, they do not have the guts, they do not have the passion, the sensitivity, or any kind of obligation towards the great man, Dadasaheb Phalke. I don't know anything about Mr. Phalke, but I definitely know he made India's first feature film. Paresh ji, please tell us, what is in your mind? What made you go after making a movie on Dadasaheb Phalke? Are you currently making it? Did you make it? And is that movie called Harishchandra Factory? Is that also something which you created or somebody else created?
Well, you have frankly expressed that you don't know about my filmmaking or the first film which I made, which was on Dadasaheb Phalke. So the film I made was Harishchandrachi Factory. I made it in 2008, right? And that's how people came to know about Mr. Phalke's entire adventure in the filmmaking. And as everybody present here is confessing that we didn't know much about Mr. Phalke or his efforts. So all I can say is, even I was not an exception. I also knew only 2 sentences about him, that he is the father of Indian cinema, and Indian government has started this award after his name. And our general knowledge about Mr. Phalke ends there. But when I came across a biography of Mr. Phalke written by Mr. Bapu Vatve, then I realized the entire adventure behind this title. So he made India's first feature film, but how? And that's where all the interesting details lie. And I decided to focus on those couple of years in which he made India's first feature film. I didn't want to make his entire biography from birth to death. No. और कई बार मैं ये कह चुका हूं कि मेरी जो फिल्म है वो फाड़के जी का चरित्रपट नहीं है, वो उनका कार्यपट है। तो उन्होंने जो सबसे महत्वपूर्ण कार्य किया उनके जीवन में, वो था भारत की पहली फीचर फिल्म कथा प्रधान चित्रपट को तैयार करना और चित्रपट उद्योग की नींव डालना हमारे देश में। तो वो जो सबसे महत्वपूर्ण कार्य है उनका, तो उसी पर मैंने ध्यान केंद्रित किया और फिर उसी की साहस कथा मैंने हरिश्चंद्राची फैक्ट्री इस मेरे चित्रपट में दिखाई।
Paresh ji, since you have admitted that the entire focus of your effort was basically directed towards capturing the kind of ethos behind the kind of vision that Dadasaheb Phalke had, which propelled him to come up and finalize and as absolutely give shape to something which the nation had never seen earlier, a feature film. जो जिसको बोलते हैं हम चलचित्र का उन्होंने स्थापना किया इस देश में, पहली फिल्म बनाई। तो
जी
उनके मस्तिष्क में उनके what was something which made him, Chandrasekhar ji has already suggested, it was seeing Jesus Christ, that movie on Christ, and he wanted the
yeah
Indians to also have a feel about their own gods and goddesses, their own culture, in the same way in which that Christianity had been depicted in that Hollywood movie. The similar way he wanted his own countrymen to see their own gods and goddesses, and that is the only reason. But that I do not think would have been the only reason. The reason should have been, must have been more than patriotic. More than patriotic, it should have been, or it would have been, or it could have been much more artistic or visionary in nature. तो इस विषय में आपका क्या कहना है?
जी बिल्कुल, I completely agree with you. Mr. Phalke was not only an artist but also a scientist. If you throw light on his earlier life, you will come across many such incidents in which his scientific temperament was tested and was witnessed by everybody. In spite of being a member of a very regular orthodox family, he wanted to learn art in JJ School of Arts. Then he continued his studies in Kala Bhavan, Vadodara. Then somebody presented him with a still camera. So he set up a small studio in those times, 1895-96 we are talking about, a still photography studio in Godhra. Then he learned some magic tricks from a German magician who was visiting India at that time. So whenever he came across something new, something interesting, something scientific, he got attracted to that thing. And this was a very, very special quality of Mr. Phalke.
So it's very special. It's not special. It is something which was destined. Maybe I think this is gracious. This is celestial. Because again, I am thinking from a layman's perspective. Mr. Phalke was not the first middle class person who wanted to do something or learn something, especially in the times when Arya Samaj, Brahmo Samaj, all the Samajes, all the industries, coal mining, education, Savitribai Phule, everything, everywhere, 1857 revolution. India was not new even in the British era, in the Mughal era, in the British era, in the East Indian Company era. India was not new to any of these things, but nobody thought of making a movie, a film. I mean, and the movies in the West were also not being made just 5 years back. They were being made for some time. So how come India being such a culturally rich country, where people were driving all kinds of political agenda, people were going to London all the way from India on their father's money, getting a barrister degree, then coming back to India via South Africa. No, I don't want to name anybody individually, but I would like to know what made this man think of making a movie out of nowhere. I mean,
it was an accidental thing. Even Mr. Phalke did not know about this new art form that has taken birth in this world. As we all know, Lumiere brothers invented this art form in 1895, right? And then the very next year, in 1896, those two films were exhibited in India. And a few local Marathi people also watched the same show. And they got inspired by the films. Namely, Mr. Harishchandra Sakharam Bhatavdekar was the first person who could see the potential of this medium. And he decided to buy the equipment from Mr. Lumiere. And he set up his own shop. And then he started his own experiments. So much before Mr. Phalke realized the true power of this medium, there were a few individuals who started, making some efforts in that direction. And then finally in 1911, when Mr. Phalke freshly resigned from his printing press business, and he was wandering across Girgaon back road. He came across a tent theater that was showing Life of Christ, and that's how the first time in his life he witnessed something magical on a screen, and that was called films, that was called motion pictures. He himself saw a feature film or a motion picture for the first time in his life. And he was so impressed by that art form, by the science involved in that art form, that he decided right there and then to make a feature film and establish this business in India. See, why we consider him father of Indian cinema, it's not because he made India's first feature film. I mean, not only because of that, but the way he did it and the way he made efforts in establishing this art form as business form in India. And that was his main contribution. And as Mr. Pusarkar just said, that now we are #1 film producing country in the world. And the credit goes to those efforts taken by Mr. Phalke in those earlier years.
So what I understand from Paresh, from you as well as whatever little I have read, because we've been doing almost 2 shows a week in the Amrit Kal period, and we used to do a show every day for almost a year during the
Right.
Amrit Mahotsav along with General V.K. Singh primarily. Now here what I want to tell you is that I understand that this movie Christ played a huge impact on the unfolding of unfolding of these events, which finally led to the making of the first feature film against all odds. But was India not privy to such theaters and such showcasing of such movies and art forms in other parts of the country, especially that so-called culturally rich and cultural capital, the capital called Bengal province? Didn't they have the theaters
Yes,
during that time?
there were a few, very few theaters. A very few 10 theater companies would travel across the country to show the motion pictures in India. So mainly motion pictures in India existed through this movement called tent theater. ये जो तंबू लेके गांव गांव जाने वाले जो लोग थे, वो अपने तंबू में वो सारे सिनेमास दिखाते थे। 5 मिनट के, 10 मिनट के, 15 मिनट के, इतने ही लंबी फिल्म्स होती थी। So that's how the cinema got introduced in this country, but again watched by a very few percentage of people, only rich class and British class, the servants of British Empire that were there present in India at that time, the British officers, the British army men and other people, they used to watch this art form, and not the local, the native Indians. So Phalke or Mr. Bhatodekar were one of the very few people, first few people who saw this art form in India and decided to turn it into a business. And
Was
that,
okay, Pusarkar
yeah,
साहब, scientifically ये तो अगर हम उस चीज को we try to superimpose today's scenario on the times that we're talking about, then it seems literally impossible to think of somebody who comes with a background that Phalke came from or Phalke ji came with to scientifically give shape to such a dream and a vision. I mean, was he supported scientifically, technically by some people? Was he having some kind of scientific support? Otherwise, how could this be possible?
You are right. He was not supported by his own friends. His own relatives were against that, for his idea of making a movie, because they said, what you are going to do? You are crazy. Some people say he should be admitted to hospital, mental hospital, instead of
they did that
supporting him.
also.
And they
They
did
actually did that.
that also. Yeah. And instead of supporting, they are just pulling his legs. Finally, he was so frustrated that nobody is helping, but Mr. Nadkarni, who had a sports shop. He said, मॉर्गेज के लिए आपके पास क्या है गिरवी रखने के लिए? बाद में वो बोले इंश्योरेंस पॉलिसी है, बाद में उनको लोन मिला. तो पहले ये जो रिलेटिव्स और बाकी जो फ्रेंड्स है ना, होम रूल के फ्रेंड्स भी बड़े बड़े प्रॉमिस किए, नोबडी हेल्प्ड हिम.
नाटकर्णी कौन? ये जो क्रिकेटर बापू
तो
नाटकर्णी
उनके लिए
वाली
वो
family है क्या ये वो लोग? नाटकर्णी कौन? ये बापू नाटकर्णी जो क्रिकेटर फैमिली है वही लोग?
नहीं नहीं,
जिन्हें पता नहीं. हाँ,
वो अलग है, वो अलग है. नाडकर्णी सरनेम इज कॉमन, नॉट बापू नाडकर्णी. सरनेम इज कॉमन, इज समथिंग डिफरेंट. दिस नाटकर्णी इज डिफरेंट. But he was very helpful. Because of that, we can see the movie now. 10,000 rupees he went to London, you know the history. So मेरे ख्याल से तब
after making the movie, I've been told that there was quite a lot of support from his colleagues during those times, like Mr. V. Shantaram.
yeah, it in bad times, he had also bad times. Mr. Phalke, ups and down, lot of ups and downs. And in his end days, he had a very financial problem. He was not able to maintain his and that V. Shantaram and he needed some help. He came personally and helped them with the story. Sent 5 rupees also. Saraswati Phalke wrote a letter and she thanked him. He sent 5 rupees that time to Dadasaheb Phalke. So V. Shantaram definitely knows what Mr. Phalke has contribution is there. So Saraswati Phalke has given a letter afterwards also. I am very much thankful. So they got that copy also.
Okay, Paresh.
So some people helped.
Paresh, what is your take on Mr. Phalke's contribution to independence struggle through the use of his, art, through the use of filmmaking? What was his contribution, if at all there was any?
Well, of course, I mean, I would like to mention here, I mean, he had this very brilliant mind. Now, just now, Mr. Phusalkar mentioned that Mr. Nadkarni came forward with some helping hand and loaned him some money. But why and how? Now, there is this mention in his biography, and which I have turned into a scene in my film also. He created a pea plant movie to impress the audiences. So what was the movie? He put a green pea in a gamla, and then as it was growing into a plant, he set the camera in front and shot the entire process for a couple of months and edited the entire film in a time-lapse fashion to create the growth of the film, of the plant in 1 minute. When people saw the plant growing from seed to say 2 feet or 3 feet height in 1 minute's time, it's a time-lapse technique we use use it quite often. But to think of such a device in those times was a very special, was a very novel thing to do. And that's how he communicated the true power of cinema to the audiences. What this medium can do, what special effects this medium is capable of. For the first time, he presented that to the audience, and that's how he impressed the audience to raise the money for his project. So he had that brilliant mind to grasp the power of the film, this medium called motion picture.
So did he also have the technique to capture, events, live events or live happenings? Did he have the technique to capture that? I do not understand video photography and all that. I mean, did he have those techniques that time?
See, when he raised that money, first he went to London to learn the film technique. That was the first step towards filmmaking, because in India, those facilities were not around.
So while
So he had
traveling
to go to London.
traveling to London, I mean, this is a very, very Paresh, this is a very, I may sound very kind of novice or amateur when I ask this, but there's a relevance to my question. Was he funded for such travels and such business kind of expansion or exploration of such business activities? Was he funded, or how did he fund himself?
See, that's why I mentioned that pea plant movie to you. When people saw that plant movie, they came forward with money, with more money. He had some money by, mortgaging his life insurance policies. Then he went to London with that money to buy the equipment. After he came back to India with that equipment, he created that pea plant growth movie and raised some more money for the actual production of the film. That was the whole process. So the second
he didn't take the support of any Angrez or the support of any white man to go abroad.
No, of course he took. Of course he took, because when he went to London to learn the film technique, it was his white friends, it was his Angrez friends who helped him, who took him to various studios, who took him to various laboratories to teach him the technique, to teach him the developing and printing, teach him to perforate the film, teach him how to load the film in the camera, taught him how to shoot the film, how to do the post-production.
So that brings me to another, Phalke, Paresh ji, this brings me to another wonderful facet of his character, that he had the guile, the kind of, what you call the communication guile, the convincing guile, which was needed for him to to garner the confidence of such people, despite their knowing that this brown-skinned Indian could use the same medium to their detriment. Paresh, I'll bring you back again. We have Mr. Vimal Vaklu who has joined us. Vimalji is an avid friend of the forum. He is the former chairman of TCIL, a technology company. Vimalji, अभी सारा वार्तालाप टेक्नोलॉजी के इर्द-गिर्द ही हो रहा है. अच्छा हुआ आप अच्छे समय पे आए हैं. But before I bring you in, let me again take you back to Paresh. Paresh is the man who knows quite a bit about Mr. Phalke, the great father of Indian cinema, जिनके कारण हम movies देखते हैं. And we were also being joined from beginning by Mr. Chandrasekhar Phalke, the grandson of Mr. Phalke, who's taken us through the fights and struggles and rigors of Phalke's personal life, including the fact that he was criticized, if not, kind of ostracized by contemporaries who donned the freedom struggle cap to the nation's knowledge. It must be told to them that even Mr. Gandhiji was not a very big fan of this new concept called filmmaking. But same time, Phalke ji, 1921 में सत्यजीत राय का जन्म होता है. 1924 में तपन सिन्हा, ऋत्विक घटक, मृणाल सेन, ये 1920 के दशक के लोग हैं. This quartet is somebody who really ruled the industry for a long time, and even to this day we keep hearing so much about Mr. Satyajit Ray's kind of incomparable and unparalleled contribution to Indian cinema globally as well, parallel or otherwise. Mr. Phalke, equations with his contemporaries, if not Ray, because he was quite a junior, because by the time Mr. Phalke expired, by that time, I am not sure whether Satyajit Ray had started making movies.
No, he didn't.
But yes, he must be having contemporaries. And could you throw some light on the contemporaries of Mr. Phalke and his equations with them, like Prithviraj Kapoor, for example? Definitely must be in touch with Mr. Prithviraj Kapoor, who was born in 1906. And Mr. Prithviraj Kapoor had also come from the same Lahore industry to the Bollywood industry, especially after the partition. So what do you think was the equation Mr. Phalke shared with his contemporaries during his heydays from 1910 to 1944?
Mr. Madan was there afterwards. Initially, Mr. Phalke was only producer. Initial for 5 years. Afterwards, Mr. Madan of Calcutta was on scene. And in 1917 was the turning point of the Indian cinema. Dadasaheb produced first box office hit film, Lankadhan. That was the film which proved that this film business have money. So all people started coming in this field after Lankadhan. So he was offered by industrialists that they will become his partner, and they have the Hindustan Film Company. After he made movies under banner of Hindustan Film Companies, Mr. Phalke.
Jamnalal Bajaj, Ghazjan Das Birla.
Change because up to 1970. Yeah.
Phalke
Hello?
sir, please continue.
बोलिए.
Please continue.
बोलिए.
नहीं
तो
आप बता रहे थे कि 1939 में वो जो लंका दहन पिक्चर बनी, उसके बाद से वो बिजनेस की तरह
1917 में बनी लंका दहन. तो वो पिक्चर ने इतना सब रिकॉर्ड तोड़ दिए बॉक्स ऑफिस के कि नाथ सिनेमा मुंबई में 10 दिन में 30,000 मिला. नाथ सिनेमा इन मुंबई, आर्यन टॉकीज पूना में इतने हाउसफुल हो गया, टिकट नहीं मिल रहे थे तो गेट्स तोड़ देते, पुलिस मंगानी पड़ी. और चेन्नई में तभी मद्रास बोलते थे, इतनी कलेक्शन हो गई कि दादा साहेब को, तभी तो नोटाबंदी नहीं थी, कॉइन्स आते थे, कॉइन्स 5 बुलक कार्ड में कॉइन भर के अंडर पुलिस प्रोटेक्शन चेन्नई से नासिक लाना पड़ा उसको. इतना उसको रिकॉर्ड टर्नओवर मिला बिकॉज ट्रिक फोटोग्राफी ऑफ दादासाहेब फाल्के. पीपल लव दैट ट्रिक फोटोग्राफी, स्पेशल इफेक्ट हम बोलते हो. So that was the turning point of the Indian cinema. People came to know there is a money in this business, and then all people started coming.
Who were the contemporary greats of Dadasaheb Phalke as far as filmmaking is concerned? Because 1917 से 1944 यानी कि 27 साल, 27 years दादा साहब हमारे बीच में थे. और उन 27 सालों में जब लोगों ने देखा कि इसमें पैसा है, तो there must be much more interest from the business perspective. So any contemporary filmmakers that really outshine their times during the Phalke period?
जी हाँ, जब शुरुआत हुई तो अर्थात वो अकेले ही थे, लेकिन 1917, 15, 16, 17 के बाद मादन, सेन, सरकार आदि लोग भी उसमें शामिल हो गए और अपनी छोटी छोटी फिल्में, कोई कलकत्ता में कर रहा है, कोई चेन्नई में कर रहा है, कोई मुंबई में कर रहा है. ये सिलसिला शुरू हुआ. अब हुआ ये कि फाल्के जी भी अर्थात उनके साथ साथ मुंबई में, नासिक में फिल्में बनाते रहे. बट बाय लेट 20s he stopped making films because of various reasons. He made some 50 odd films and 80 odd short films as well. लेकिन 1927, 29, 30 आते आते उनका फिल्म मेकिंग थोड़ा सा कम हो गया और बाद में 1-2 सालों में तो बंद ही हो गया. अब इसके कई कारण थे. एक तो वो खुद स्वयं एक एक्सेंट्रिक मनुष्य थे, तो उनके साथ बाकी जो पार्टनर्स थे उनकी ज्यादा बनती नहीं थी. हाँ, इनके ये फाल्के जी एकदम हाँ कला प्रेमी आदमी थे और बाकी हाँ एब्सोल्युटली, और बाकी पैसा प्रेमी आदमी थे. तो वो जो हमेशा होता है कि कला और बिजनेस में जो टकराव होता ही है, तो वैसे टकराव उनके होते रहे और बाद में फिर उन्होंने फिल्म मेकिंग लगभग बंद ही कर दिया. And that's why Mr. Phalke just informed us about his, bad days towards the end. And that's when Mr. V. Shantaram, through Prabhat Film Company, started a little pension for him. तो हर महीना कुछ एक थोड़ी सी उनके लिए मदद पहुंच जाती थी वी शांताराम और प्रभात फिल्म कंपनी के द्वारा. तो उनके कंटेम्पररीज अगर हम कहें तो जैसे मादन, सेन, सरकार, ये कुछ फिल्म मेकर्स थे. उसके साथ साथ एक बहुत ही आदरणीय नाम मैं आपको बताना चाहूंगा, जो थे बाबूराव पेंटर. दुर्भाग्य से उनकी एक भी फिल्म आज अस्तित्व में नहीं रही. जैसे फाल्के जी की भी बस 2-4 ही क्लिप्स इधर उधर की बची है, कुल एक 20-25 मिनट की उनकी 2-4 फिल्में बची है। तो
20 मिनट
उसी तरह से मतलब जैसे राजा हरिश्चंद्र कुछ 12-14 मिनट की बची है, लंका दहन के कुछ
कालिया
ऐसे
मर्दन।
2-3 ही शॉट्स है, कालिया मर्दन का एक आध ही शॉट हमें देखने को मिलता है। तो यही कारण है कि उनके जो समकालीन कलाकार थे उनके विषय में हमें बहुत ज्यादा जानकारी नहीं मिल पाई, और इसीलिए बाबूराव पेंटर या दादा साहेब तोरणे या ये जो अन्य फिल्म मेकर्स थे उनकी कोई फिल्म बची नहीं, और जिसे हम देख पाए और उनके भी कार्य का परिचय हमें हो पाए। इस प्रकार की परिस्थिति ना रहने के कारण हमें उनके समकालीन कलाकारों की कोई अधिक जानकारी नहीं है।
The times that we're talking about, Paresh ji and Pusalkar ji, and even to the knowledge of Mr. Waklu, the times that we're talking about are not very far-fetched when documentation of biographies was pretty much in vogue. I mean, when we talk about contemporaries of Mr. Phalke, especially the freedom fighters, we have encyclopedias written around
Yeah.
contemporaries in various fields. But unfortunately, what I am made to understand now, that there is not much documentation of Phalke and his biography or his work or his the legend of Mr. Phalke that has been captured in black and white during those times. And in case it is something which is there, that has to be really brought forward and probably documented in a much more what do you call treasurable manner, so that the generations to come at least do not face a kind of a blanket black hole when it comes to questions about the basics of Mr. Phalke and his times. वाकलू जी, कश्मीर से आप आ रहे हैं, कश्मीर पर मूवीज का क्या प्रभाव रहा? आप वहां पले बड़े, आपने 1950-60 का दशक देखा, 70-80 देखा, आपने 90 देखा, और आपने आज 2022 भी देखा जब कश्मीर फाइल जैसी मूवीज बनी है। क्योंकि ये फिल्मों के ऊपर चर्चा परिचर्चा जो है फिल्मों पर है। इस संगोष्ठी के माध्यम से क्या अपने देश को, पॉलिसी मेकर्स को, नेताओं को, हमारे देश के कर्ता धर्ताओं को ये बताना चाहेंगे कि मूवीज का खास करके इस देश की जो इकोनॉमिक सोशल एंड पॉलिटिकल जो सिचुएशन है उसका क्या इम्पैक्ट आपने महसूस किया? बीइंग अ कश्मीरी, who better than you to tell us in the wake of the situation wherein movies are playing a make or break role politically and trying to really put things in the straight perspective as far as historical facts which have been twisted over time, like that has been done in the case of Kashmir Files and now in Kerala Story. Wakluji, over to you.
Well, before I go to that, answer that question, I must first of all sort of convey my regards to Chandrasekhar ji. I mean, he's the grandson of such a great legend. I'm really so happy to sort of face to face be with him on this program. You know, I did not know much about Dadasaheb Phalke till he was given that recognition, and it came quite late. Uh, After that, I saw Marathi movie. I don't recollect the full name. It was Chief Factory.
हरिश्चंद्राची फैक्ट्री।
Harishchandra Chief Factory. When I saw that movie,
वाकलू साहब, ये जो आपके बगल में बैठे हैं उसके फिल्म मेकर है परेश जी।
अच्छा, हरिश्चंद्र Chief Factory. Okay, चलो आपको भी शत pranam, because I was so moved by that movie. I could realize what a struggle it was for Dadasaheb to really bring the cinema into India, and hats off to him, and hats off to you, particularly now that I come to know that you had made that movie. So grateful. I mean, that gave me a real vision. And, after that, coming to the question, about the impact of movies in Kashmir, actually, a lot of movies were made actually in Kashmir. And so Kashmiri people were involved in a big way in the movie making also, because a lot of shooting used to happen over there. So local people were quite well disposed towards that. And when I say local people, I mean till 1990, when the cinema halls were banned, and there was a complete ban on that. But till then, everybody used to enjoy those movies. Now, coming to Kashmir Files, for example, I mean, it's a total depiction of reality. I mean, of course, it might be uncomfortable for some people to really sort of uh, relate to that, because this is just the tip of the iceberg of what actually happened there. And, you know, there is a bigger story more just to it. But it is a representative movie of all that actually happened. And those people who are trying to deny that, I think they are far from truth. And it's really sad. And coming to Kerala Files, the way it is responding, and yesterday on Times Now, I also saw how those 28 ladies who have suffered in the process gave their version. And still, if some people feel that it's not justified or it's based on fiction, so I mean, I have no real comments about that. But the positive thing is that actually now, you know, there is the ban has been removed now in West Bengal and Tamil Nadu by Supreme Court. That's a very positive thing. And let us hope that, you know, and in fact, both these movies are a big lesson for the people of India. They can realize, I mean, this has happened in Kashmir or Kerala, but this can happen in any part of the country. So everybody needs to watch these movies, both of them. That's all I have.
Sir, thank you so much. You know, Paresh, before I go to Pusalkarji, the freedom of speech, freedom of expression, art, cinema, you know, these are inextricably related, you know, fields. In fact, anything which can help express through audio-visual medium is something which should be unfettered. Yes, but with it always comes with responsibility. You think Dadasaheb Phalke understood the relevance of expression and freedom of expression and the alacrity with which expression could be made even during when he started making the films in the early decade of the 1900s? Did he have those things in mind, or these are all terms that have been coined because of political convenience after the independence? What do you think?
See, I think when he first started making films, he didn't foresee everything that may come with it, right? Because you start a thing, and then when you see the impact it is making on society, then the politics of it comes in the picture. As a pure artist, you don't foresee everything. So just like Mr. Phalke also, he just wanted to create a great art and a great business opportunity for our country. And he did that successfully in the first few years. But after a few years, British set a censorship board also for plays as well as films. And then slowly the things started taking over. तो ये समस्या या ये झगड़ा तो निरंतर है जो एक कलाकार को सहना पड़ता है. आज भी हम वो पूरी तरह से उसमें यशस्वी नहीं हो पाए हैं. तो अपने अपने ढंग से हम उसका सामना करते हैं, कभी सेंसरशिप का, कभी सोशल सेंसरशिप का, कभी पॉलिटिकल सेंसरशिप का.
हाँ, ठीक है. पुसालकर जी, क्या दादा साहब को भी अपनी मूवीज में 1917 के बाद भी did he have to, over the next 25-27 years, probably he stopped making movies in the early 30s. So even for the next 15-20 years of his successful movie career, did he have to face censorship issues from the dispensation ruling that time, the Britishers?
No, I don't think that. I have not heard from the British censorship, but what I heard, one of the films, he was criticized by a newspaper. Dadasaheb Phalke was criticized because one Satyavan Savitri film he had made, Satyavan Savitri, and that for the climax scene, that Yamaraj come on this thing, Reda, male buffalo, to take the वो उसका ये लेने के जान लेने को आता है, ऐसा सीन क्लाइमैक्स सीन है पिक्चर में, साइलेंट मूवी. And but what happened, that actor who was doing the role of Pailwan, the Yamraj, was very much afraid of sitting on that male buffalo. So he was not happy to sit on that. Dadasaheb convinced him, Baba, I will show you. Dadasaheb himself sat on that and he had one round. Still, this fellow was very much afraid. बाद में this actor suggested you cut this scene. Dadasaheb said, how come I can cut this scene? This is the climax of the picture. Finally, Dadasaheb had one idea to use the female buffalo. तो भैंस लेके दादासाहेब ने ये शॉट कंप्लीट किया. बाद में जब भी ऐसा लगा ठीक है सब, जब भी एक्चुअल पिक्चर जब भी आया, तभी there are some critics, they showed we will stop the movie because Dadasaheb has changed the history, mythology. How Yamaraj can sit on bhais instead of male buffalo. So Dadasaheb ने माफी मांगना चाहिए, ऐसा एक न्यूज़पेपर में next day आया.
That was the time.
Yeah, that was the first case of sentiment third.
That was the time. Kusalkar sir. That leads to my next question.
So this is a negative publicity, and picture still fetch a lot of money because of negative publicity.
Acha.
But
so
not
that,
from the censor board. I have not heard from.
Social
I have not heard from censor board. But what Dadasaheb was of opinion, once somebody had asked whether after censorship, whether there should be, again, story script should be checked. But it is not needed, that sort of, and you should not make the movie on the disputed topic. That's what he said. You should not make movie because you know there is going to be a problem. That was his opinion, Dadasaheb Phalke. You should not burn the big finger because you know something is going to happen. That was his opinion.
That's a brilliant point for today's filmmakers. But I'm sure the political, political leaders would not be very, very comfortable listening to this because this has become a very important medium of skewed vote bank politics, especially with the regional politics playing such a big role in the country now. Because now the next question is which comes out from the same issue. The times that Mr. Phalke started making movies, indulgence or participation of women in such movie making was considered a taboo from a social perspective. And he even had a man play the role. The man played the role of a woman in Harishchandra, Raja Harishchandra, so much so. And then but at the same time, his own wife was supporting the entire movie making process. Obviously, it was a kind of a family engagement.
Yeah.
But how did Mr. Phalke manage to, he, as you say, he wanted to keep things away from social stigmatization, ostracization. So from such aspects of not involving women, or this being considered to be a very wrong kind of a profession for women to enter into, how he managed to wade through such social blocks during those decades of the early 10s, 20s and 30s. कुशलकर साहब, ये बहुत बड़ा मुद्दा था. औरतों को सामाजिक तौर पे जो मूवीज में औरतों का घुसना बहुत गलत और शर्मनाक महसूस किया जाता था, माना जाता था. तो इस चीज को उस दौरान में दादासाहब फाल्के ने कैसे उस कंट्रोवर्सी को एवॉइड किया?
उन्होंने चालू किया. उसका फर्स्ट फिल्म जो चंद्रकांत गोखले की जो ग्रैंड मदर थी, चंद्रकांत गोखले की मदर, she is the first female artist. Kamlabai Gokhale. Kamlabai Gokhale.
She was Kamatarya.
Yeah. He started using the female this thing. So actually, he had not faced female roles.
ये तो बड़ा इट्स अ वेरी काइंड ऑफ इट्स अ काइंड ऑफ अ very precarious situation to be in, being a filmmaker in those times. At the same time, we should not forget that the first film award, the Dadasaheb Phalke award, was won by a female only, Devika Rani.
Yeah. First award went to Devika Rani.
It's irony of our times that the first film award Dadasaheb Phalke वो एक लेडीज को ही मिला. तो अब हम इसके बाद अब आते हैं थोड़ा, अब 10 मिनट की परिचर्चा बाकी रखी है. 8 से 10 मिनट के अंदर इसको राउंड ऑफ करेंगे. आपकी एक्सपेक्टेशंस दादासाहेब फाल्के के लिए पुसलकर साहब, सरकार से और इंडस्ट्री से क्या है? क्योंकि इंडस्ट्री, एज आई टोल्ड यू गाइस अर्लियर, आई एम एब्सोल्युटली डिस्ट्रॉट with a kind of embarrassment that they have caused to themselves as a self goal by abstaining from such an important issue of paying homage and raising their voices on a forum which reaches directly to the policy makers for somebody on whose name their entire existence hinges upon, Dadasaheb Phalke. The entire industry has to be ashamed of this. Now let me go back. पुसलकर साहब, आपकी क्या अपेक्षाएं हैं भारत सरकार से आने वाले समय में? भारत रत्न एक, इसके अलावा इंडस्ट्री से और घर घर में दादासाहेब फाल्के का नाम क्यों नहीं है? आज भी हम सुनते रहते हैं सत्यजीत रे हर समय, पत्थर पंचाली, राजा बोल सकते नहीं सुनते हैं.
ऐसा मैं तो मेरे माँ के जनरेशन मीन्स दादा साहेब के जो बच्चे थे उनको भी मैं रिस्पॉन्सिबल रखता हूँ, और मेरे जनरेशन को भी हम लोग ने उनको हमारा नाम आगे बढ़ाना चाहिए. फैमिली शुड हैव स्टार्टेड मोर, लेकिन माय अंकल जनरेशन हैड देयर ओन प्रॉब्लम. उनको एजुकेशन प्रॉपर हुआ नहीं, दे हैड लॉट्स ऑफ अप्स एंड डाउन. तो ये चीज मेरे ख्याल से हमारे अंकल के जनरेशन से रह गया. तो दैट आई एम ट्राइंग टू रिपेयर इट.
इशू नहीं है, मराठी फिल्म इंडस्ट्री भी रिस्पॉन्सिबल है. क्योंकि आज देखिए, अगर बंगाली फिल्म मेकर आए, उनके साथ सेन और सरकार जुड़े, तो उसके बाद बंगाली फिल्म इंडस्ट्री वालों ने, बंगालियों ने इस चीज को आगे ले गए, और वो दशक के बाद दशक, वो म्यूजिक हो, भले ही वो फिल्म मेकिंग हो, हर चीज में बंगालीज ने इस चीज पे अपना आधिपत्य स्थापित किया. और ये आधिपत्य को इस लेवल पे ले गए कि आज तक जो प्रोडक्शन हाउसेस हैं, हर जगह आप देख रहे हैं कि बंगालीज ही जा जाके डायरेक्शन कर रहे हैं. अमिताभ भट्टाचार्य हो, वो रिलायंस का वो एक बंगाली मैन है, सरकार है, शिवाशी सरकार है, इस तरह का. आई एम जस्ट नेमिंग without any personal grudge about anybody or any particular community. I am saying Marathi movies are also great. I saw a movie called Jhund. झुंड बोल के पिक्चर नागराज मंजुला ने बनाई थी 2 साल पहले. अमिताभ बच्चन ने काम किया उस पिक्चर में. वो पिक्चर कैसे बना सकता है वो, कोई भी देखेगा तो यही सोचेगा बनाना असंभव है. स्लम्स के एक्चुअल बच्चों को लेकर उन्होंने वो पिक्चर बना डाली. इतनी जबरदस्त पिक्चर. सैरत बनाई, इस तरह के उमेश कुलकर्णी, इस तरह के कितने डायरेक्टर्स हैं. तो क्या मराठी जो इंडस्ट्री है, महाराष्ट्र है, बॉलीवुड है, वहां पर मराठा मानुष के बाला साहब ठाकरे थे, ये शिवसेना है, इतना कुछ रहा, उसके बावजूद भी क्या ये साइलोज में वर्क करने के कारण हुआ कि आपके जो जन्मदाता है फिल्म इंडस्ट्री के, साउथ वाले साउथ चले गए? रजनीकांत, वो भी मराठी है, लोगों को पता नहीं. गायकवाड़ है, मराठी है, लेकिन वो रजनीकांत है.
मराठी.
तो ऐसा क्यों? महाराष्ट्र ने इसको क्या नहीं दिया? रजनीकांत भी मराठी है, तो फिर मराठा कहाँ खो गया? मराठी कहाँ खो गया? व्हाट इज द प्रॉब्लम?
सही. मुझे भी बहुत, फिर भी मैं परेश मोकाशी का बहुत शुक्रगुजार हूँ. वो एक मराठी है और वो मराठी इंडस्ट्री के बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट पार्ट है. उन्होंने
अगर ये ढंग से होता, मराठी इंडस्ट्री ने इस चीज को उसी तरह से खेला होता जैसे बंगाली इंडस्ट्री ने खेला, तो आज की डेट में ये जो बॉलीवुड है, जो आज भी देश का सबसे बड़ा इंडस्ट्री है, और साउथ इसको चैलेंज कर रहा है, आज के दादासाहेब फाल्के को किसी भी तरह की ऐसी परिचर्चा की आवश्यकता पड़ती?
सही बात है. अभी क्या होता है, हम लोग भी अभी परेश मोकाशी ने हमारा काम बहुत इजी किया है, क्योंकि महाराष्ट्र में सभी जगह दादा साहेब का पता लग गया, उनका क्या उन्होंने एग्जैक्टली किया. महाराष्ट्र के घर घर में परेश जी ने दादा साहेब को ले गए. अभी मेरा है रिक्वेस्ट कि एक नेशनल इंटरनेशनल लेवल बायोपिक होना चाहिए ऑन दादा साहेब फाल्के, तो वो जरिए वो जा सकते हैं। हमने वेबसाइट बनाई है, लेकिन उसके लिए एक लिमिटेशन होती है। वेबसाइट, बहुत सारी वेबसाइट है, हमने फर्स्ट वेबसाइट दादा साहेब फाल्के की बनाई है।
क्या
अगर
एक
यू
भी
गो टू,
इंस्टीट्यूट है? सत्यजीत राय फिल्म टेक्निकल इंस्टीट्यूट है, दादा साहब फाल्के के नाम से टेक्निकली कोई फिल्म इंस्टीट्यूट
नहीं
है देश
अभी
में परेश?
नहीं, अभी दादा साहेब फाल्के का 30 अप्रैल को अभी ये चालू हो गया। MIT बोल के आपको पता है, रिस्पेक्टेड एजुकेशन इंस्टीट्यूट है, MIT नाम है उसका। फिल्म सेक्शन को लिए, फिल्म सेक्शन दे आर गिवन नेम ऑफ दादा साहेब फाल्के इंटरनेशनल फिल्म स्कूल। अभी 30 अप्रैल को उन्होंने चालू किया है। So they are taken my
MIT कौन? MIT स्लोन, आईवी लीग वाला,
हाँ,
अमेरिका वाला?
MIT पुणे, पुणे, MIT पुणे।
This is Maharashtra Institute of Technology.
Yeah. And they have the films, they have the separate film section from now, and they have named it after the Dadasaheb Phalke.
क्या कोई
So,
इंस्टीट्यूट? आज FTII है, नेशनल स्कूल ऑफ ड्रामा है, आज सिंटा, इतनी संस्थाएं हैं, इतने स्कूल हैं। अभी फिल्म म्यूजियम बना है, जो फिल्म डिवीजन ऑफ इंडिया के अंडर में जो फिल्म म्यूजियम बना है, क्या उसके नाम के आगे भी दादा साहब फाल्के का नाम लिखा गया?
नहीं लिखा गया।
यस
होना
वाकलू जी,
चाहिए।
यस वाकलू जी, यस वाकलू जी।
नहीं, एक्चुअली ऐसा है कि इंडिपेंडेंस के बाद ये लेफ्ट इकोसिस्टम जो है काफी हावी रहा है। और वही कारण है कि जिन जिन को रिकग्निशन मिलना चाहिए था उनको नहीं मिला, और जो उनकी लाइन टो करते थे उनको काफी रिकग्निशन मिला बियॉन्ड एक्चुअली व्हाट दे डिजर्व्ड आल्सो। और उन्हीं की जो नैरेटिव है वो फिल्म इंडस्ट्री में चला, और उसी बेस पे फिल्म्स भी बनी। तो ये दिस इज और फॉर्मूला बन गए उसी आधार पे। इट इज रियली सैड कि आज हमको दादा साहब पे वार्ता करनी पड़ रही है इस माध्यम से। तो वही कारण है कि उनको इग्नोर किया गया, क्योंकि उन्होंने शुरू की थी अपनी हरिश्चंद्र और तारामती से, तो वो कभी भी लेफ्ट इकोसिस्टम के फ्री नहीं हो सकते थे।
आपने बहुत गहरी बात बहुत संक्षिप्त में कह दी। यू टच्ड द political chord in a very very sensitive point, I must tell you. But now the dispensation definitely, I'm sure, not endorsing the same viewpoint. So that means the discussion's relevance, that the discussion that we are having today, the relevance stands exemplified much more, and it really, basically it gets magnified, because now the people can take notice of the concerns and suggestions around Mr. Phalke, and at a political level, national level, these issues should be taken care of. Otherwise, this phenomena, this country, I don't know, I still, just based on this 1 hour discussion, I'm nobody to comment, but prima facie, it appears to me, somebody who started this industry by making the first feature film, I don't have a single institute in his name. I don't have a single national institute in his name. I mean, is it something which I need to buy or I can be sold? I'm sorry, I'm not buying this. Okay, now if I talk about awards, दादासाहेब फाल्के अवार्ड दे दिया, ठीक है, अमिताभ बच्चन ले गए, आशा भोसले भी लेके चली गई, बहुत अच्छी बात है। लेकिन इसके नाम से कोई सेपरेट, जैसे कि संगीत नाटक अकादमी अवार्ड्स, इसके अंदर में म्यूजिक, डांस, ड्रामा सब कवर हो रहा है। फिल्म्स के लिए संगीत नाटक के बराबर ही दादासाहेब फाल्के अवार्ड की मान्यता हो, इसके लिए भी हम लोगों को प्रयास करना चाहिए। संगीत नाटक अकादमी हर क्लासिकल म्यूजिशियन, डांस परफॉर्मर, परफॉर्मिंग आर्ट्स, हर कोई चाहता है कि संगीत नाटक अकादमी उनको मिले। सिमिलरली फिल्म्स के लिए दादासाहेब फाल्के अवार्ड की मान्यता ऐसी बन जाए कि फिल्म इंडस्ट्री से जुड़ा हुआ सिर्फ आर्टिस्ट नहीं, हर कोई टेक्निकल आदमी, हर कोई को ऐसा लगे कि दादासाहेब फाल्के अवार्ड मिल गया, मतलब फिल्म इंडस्ट्री का सबसे बड़ा अवार्ड मिल गया, पूरी इंडस्ट्री का सबसे बड़ा अवार्ड मिल गया। तो मेरे समझ में ऐसा भी एक प्रयास हम लोगों को करना चाहिए कि दादासाहेब फाल्के अवार्ड जो ऑलरेडी घोषित है 1969 से, उसको संगीत नाटक अकादमी के बराबर, that kind of a position it should be given, so that both the awards can take care of different fields। यहाँ तक कि रविंद्र भवन, वो अवार्ड भी अगर दिया जाता है तो रविंद्र भवन, रविन्द्रनाथ टैगोर जी के नाम पे वो भवन है। सिमिलरली दादासाहेब फाल्के अवार्ड के लिए अलग से एक अकेडमी, जैसे संगीत नाटक अकादमी है, वैसे ही दादा साहब अकेडमी हो, उसी के नाम से हो, कम से कम ये कुछ चीजें हैं जो म्यूजियम बना, उस म्यूजियम में एक स्पेशल सेक्शन हो जो शुरू से अगर नहीं है, जो कि दादा साहब फाल्के के लिए dedicated हो।
स्पेशल सेक्शन है उनके लिए,
अगर है
स्पेशल
तो ये बहुत
सेक्शन
अच्छी
है।
बात है। पर मेरा कहना यह है कि हर नेशनल इंस्टीट्यूशन को जो फिल्म से रिलेटेड है, कहीं ना कहीं दादा साहब का नाम भी उनके साथ में होना चाहिए। जैसे एक क्रिकेट
सही बात।
स्टेडियम में भी जाते हैं तो वहां पर अरुण जेटली स्टेडियम देखने को मिलता है दिल्ली में, विराट कोहली स्टेडियम भी देखने को मिल रहा है, जो लड़का कल खेलने आया। ऐसी चीजों पे अगर है तो दादा साहब फाल्के का नाम कैसे नहीं है? आई एम वेरी सरप्राइज एज एन इंडियन। सो क्लोजिंग रिमार्क्स, वाकलू साहब, आपके क्लोजिंग रिमार्क्स क्या है?
Actually, इसमें कोई शक नहीं है. You have summed up very well that the person who, on his own individual level, brought cinema to India for the first time, he deserves to be put on a pedestal, which he didn't get, and he should get his rightful place in the country's cinematic. Or at the same time, I'm looking forward to the film industry being set up in Uttar Pradesh, which is happening here near my place. So I'm sure there Dadasaheb Phalke will get the right place there because that is the right environment there. So I'm looking forward to that. Besides that, I have to say that I'm so thankful to you for giving me this opportunity of meeting these two great men, Chandrasekhar ji and Paresh ji. I was so moved after seeing that movie. In fact, I just want to share with you that my uh, daughter-in-law is a Marathi. So she recommended to me that why don't you see this? And I was really moved. I would have not seen it otherwise. So I'll today thank her also that I got to meet Paresh ji also, who made this great movie. Thank you very
बहुत
much.
बहुत बहुत आभार वाकई, बहुत बहुत आभार.
Same thing happened in Bengal also when a movie called Aparajita was made. Aparajit was made. Basically, it's a name of Mr. Satyajit Ray, who is also known as Manik Sarkar, as Manik Ray. Manik is another name, nickname. So there was a movie which became a super duper hit movie here in Bengal also. Similarly, I'm sure Harishchandra Ki Factory must have become a very, very big hit in Maharashtra. Why don't we have such movies made on a national platform? I mean, we also had movies from South on Jayalalitha, Ramachandran. I mean, why can't we have such movies made on Mr. Phalke from Bollywood? I mean, don't they find commercial value? Or is there some hidden agenda which is being driven from Dubai or somewhere, which doesn't allow such names to really be magnified and getting the right due share? Paresh?
जी नहीं, मैं नहीं समझता ऐसी कोई बात है. ये अपने निजी निर्णय होते हैं. अब जब मैंने ये फिल्म बनाई तो मुझ पर भी तो रोक लगा सकते थे कोई ना कोई बहुत जो बड़े दादा थे, लेकिन ऐसा किसी ने नहीं किया. उल्टा चित्रपट बनने के बाद जब ऑस्कर के लिए चयन का वक्त आया तो सारे इंडस्ट्री के लोगों ने एक होकर हरिश्चंद्राची फैक्ट्री का चयन किया उस साल की भारत की ऑस्कर एंट्री के लिए. और उसके बाद में तुरंत यूटीवी और डिस्ने जैसी बहुत बड़ी कंपनियों ने उसके प्रदर्शन की जिम्मेदारी भी उठाई. तो एक छोटी मराठी फिल्म होने के बावजूद हमारी जो मेन स्ट्रीम इंडस्ट्री है उनके द्वारा ये सारा सहयोग मिला और बड़ा सहकार्य मिला.
परेश जी, हम इसको हिंदी में क्यों नहीं डब कर देते?
एक्चुअली सर, एक सैटेलाइट पर जब ये फिल्म चलाने का एक प्रस्ताव आया थी में तो चलाई ही उन्होंने, उसका हिंदी डबिंग करके हिंदी चैनल्स पर भी चलाई गई थी. उसका बहुत ज्यादा प्रचार या प्रसार नहीं
मगर
हुआ
मुझे
उस समय,
कहीं पे वो
लेकिन
मिल
उसका
नहीं
डबिंग
रही
हो
है,
चुका
उसका
है.
हिंदी
हाँ,
वर्जन.
उसका डबिंग हो चुका है. सिर्फ सैटेलाइट प्रक्षेपण के लिए उसका डबिंग किया गया था.
अच्छा अच्छा.
वो रिलीज नहीं की गई, बस सैटेलाइट टीवी चैनल पर चलाई गई.
अच्छा अच्छा.
जी.
So what
मुझे
I made to understand is that this is, but then at the same time we also should understand that regional movies have always apart from some very good Bollywood movies like Lagan, or I mean, most of them it have been regional movies who got nominated for such kind of global acclaims. So that is not definitely the yardstick to measure the industry bonhomie behind supporting a cause. There should have been much more what you call cohesive approach, and much more aggressive, cohesive, and sensitive, as well as, if I may put it across, sincere approach towards doing justice to the name of the phenomena called Dadasaheb Phalke. Paresh, you've been very kind enough and quite diplomatic in putting it across. Secondly, about how the industry supported you. Now going to the Phalke ji, Phalke साहब, ये हम सबके लिए, देश के लिए सौभाग्य की बात है कि दादा साहब फाल्के का खून हमारे सामने। तो अगर हमारे सामने आप हैं,
शुक्रिया,
अब ये
शुक्रिया।
मैं हमेशा अपनी वाणी को विराम आखिर में देता हूं, लेकिन आज आप बोलेंगे, उसके बाद जय हिंद। आपको आखिरी वक्ता के तौर पे हम निमंत्रित करते हैं।
मैं गवर्नमेंट से दरखास्त रिक्वेस्ट करूंगा कि उनको पोस्टमस भारत रत्न दिया जाए। उनके ऊपर जैसे हमारा सेंसर सर्टिफिकेट आता है, नेशनल एंथम के पहले वी शुड पे ट्रिब्यूट टू दादासाहेब फाल्के। मेरे ख्याल से एक छोटी फिल्म होनी चाहिए, हर थिएटर, ओटीटी, सभी जगह वो दिखानी ही चाहिए, तो लोगों को पता होगा ये आदमी कौन है। एक ट्रिब्यूट फिल्म फॉर 1-2 minutes giving a birth date and anniversary, death anniversary, and flowers are showered on that, a photo of Phalke. That I request government should have compulsory in all theaters.
16 लाख स्कूल है, 16 लाख सर, 16 लाख स्कूल है। एजुकेशन मंत्रालय को ये
स्कूल में तो
निर्देश होना चाहिए कि दादा साहब फाल्के की जन्मतिथि के दिन ये जो
एक लेसन होना चाहिए स्कूल में, एक लेसन, जैसा बड़े बड़े लोग पे लेसन होता है वैसे लेसन होना चाहिए। दैट्स व्हाट आई फील।
और अगर ऐसा हुआ तो बच्चे जो 15 लाख 16 लाख स्कूल में जो बच्चे पढ़ रहे हैं, जो इस देश की पीढ़ी है, ये संदेश है, ये 1 मिनट में सबके पास पहुंच जाएगा कि फिल्म देखने जाते हैं, ये फिल्में सिर्फ वो फिल्म नहीं है जो स्पाइडरमैन सुपरमैन बन रही है जो देख रहे हैं। ये
सही बात है।
फिल्म का जन्मदाता इस देश का चंद्रशेखर जी, आपके दादाजी, आपके नाना जी श्री दादा साहब फाल्के, हमारे परम पूज्य दादा साहब फाल्के हैं, और उनको इस देश में वो सम्मान मिले। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद परेश जी, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद बागलू साहब। आई एम वेरी थैंकफुल टू यू, द ब्लड ऑफ दादा साहब। जय हिंद, थैंक यू।
जय हिंद, जय हिंद, थैंक यू।